All right, boys, the patch notes came out 2.5 hours ago. I'm just now getting to sit down. I think what I'm going to do is make this video about all of the mercenary changes going through. I mean, there's so many changes. I mean, massive. Galvanic Shards rip, by the way. It does more damage, but now they made Galvanic Shards like a shotgun. Instead of shooting like 7 bolts, like it is now like boom, 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 depending on your reload speed. But let's start with that. We'll come back to it, obviously. Galvanic Shards ammunition no longer has 50% less reload speed and now has 1 bolt loaded per clip. Previously 5, which you could get up to 7. So it's basically like all the other abilities now. The fire, the ice, like the permafrost bolt, incendiary shot. Projectile attack damage now 21 to 54% and gem levels 5 to 20, previously 14 to 31. While the beam attack damage is 107 to 272%. Previously 71 to 156. So we're getting 116% on the top end, which is fine. Now fires 8 fragments per shot, previously 6, and has a mana cost of 10 to 48. Gem levels was 13. Quality now provides fires plus 2 fragments per shot instead of plus 2 bolts. So we can have 10 fragments per shot. I don't know if fork works with those shotgun blasts. I mean, obviously you have the chain, but they did show that lineage where it'll load 3 additional bolts. So we could have 4 bolts of this and we just got a dodge roll to keep it going. But honestly, that might be the way to go and go, you know, so doom, 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 and then dodge roll, doom, 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 dodge roll, doom, doom, you know what I mean? We're gonna have to play around with that, but the machine gun spray of Galvanic Shards is no more. I've noticed with a lot of the patch notes and, you know, the reveal today, they made it so like every element is like on par now and you can like switch elements very easily. So we can like have Galvanic Shards and then switch to ice and go back and forth. Because Galvanic Shards was just the go-to. It was so good. So this makes sense. So we're gonna have to mess around with that. But let's go all the way to the top. If you didn't see, you can use support gems multiple times now instead of just, you know, limit of 1. I don't think they show what the support gems were. We're getting 11 new ones, 40 lineage. We're getting the new gem Mortar Cannon, which if you saw in the reveal, raises a cannon totem, which uses socketed grenade skills with significantly improved cooldown recovery rate. They shot like every second. So we have this totem that now can shoot whatever you want to use. Cluster grenade, regular grenade, poison grenade, voltaic grenade, whatever you want to use. It'll just start throwing grenades. And I'm sure you can put scatter shot on it so it throws 3 grenades. And then I think it's going to be possible to even get like 5 totems now. Because we'll get +1 on the new Tactician Ascendancy. I think you get like 3 before. I think it's probably possible to get 5. So 5 times 3. 15 grenades every second or two, just blasting everywhere. Ooh, that could be crazy, you know? Oh, Grim Feast is back. I didn't see that. Instead of granting energy shield, it now allows you to collect remnants from your dead reviving minions and activate the skill to instantly revive minions based on maximum. Oh, so it's completely different. It's, yeah, okay, well, there's that. 10 new added over 10 new uniques, 50 new base item types, and 20 new endgame maps. 15 new omens. That's a lot of omens. Oh wow, you can no longer socket multiple copies of the same skill gem into your main skill sockets. Skills not granted by gems and skill socketed into persistent buff skill gems do not count towards this limit. You can still have multiple copies of specters or tame beasts, but only one of each kind of monster. Ooh, all right. If you haven't seen, this is big. Reduce attributes on everything. 20-25%. Same with the skill gems. If you didn't see, shock and freeze last 8 seconds now. I guess this is Merc. Oil grounds duration is now refreshed when it catches fire. Okay. I was hoping the infusion would work with Mercenary since we're shooting elemental projectiles, but it seems like it's only with spells, so rip. Reloading a crossbow and switching crossbow ammunition no longer reduces the player's movement speed. That's big. Player projectile skills now fire a minimum of 1 projectile. They should fire 0. Huh. Swapping weapons is now instant. All right, Ascendancy changes. I believe it was just Gemling and Tactician. Tactician having the biggest, which that's my favorite. So kind of surprised that Witch Hunter didn't have any. Witch Hunter was my first. It was pretty good, I feel like, but so let's see. Gemling. The advanced thaumaturgy notable passive skill no longer grants 30% less cost of skill, or skill gems have 30% more attribute requirements. It now grants the thaumaturgical dynamism buff, which while active causes you to passively generate a power, frenzy, or endurance charge once every 8 seconds. That's kind of a long time. The type of charge you generate is determined by the attribute requirements of your socketed skill gems. The higher the total strength requirement total of your socketed skill gems, the more likely it would generate an endurance charge. Okay. A higher total dex corresponds to a higher chance for frenzy, and intelligence to power charges. Interesting. The gem studded notable passive skill no longer grants you can use each type of support gem and additional time in different skills. Right, because now we can just do that. Instead, it now provides for each color socket gem that is most numerous gain. Red, hits against you have no critical damage bonus. Blue, skills have 30% less cost. And green, 40% less movement speed penalty from using skills while moving. Okay, so if you have the most amount of greens, does it now provides for each color of socketed gem? So is that, so say we have like 10 greens, is that 400% less movement speed penalty? There's no way that scales like that. No way. I don't know. Tactician, here we go. The cannon's ready. Notable passive now also provides +1 to maximum number of summoned totems. I believe that's the one where it only fires when you fire, which I was kind of hoping they would change that. Guess it's not a big deal, especially if you get an extra totem. I don't know what to see about that. The right where you want them passive now grants projectile damage builds pin. Okay. Polish that gear now provides gain deflection rating. Deflection is a new one where you can get, it's like spell suppression, right? You can suppress like 40% of damage. So gain deflection rating equal to 20% of armor, and no longer grants gain 100% of armor. Okay. Yeah, I mean, deflection's good. The suppressing fire notable passive skill now provides 40% more immobilization buildup instead of projectile damage. I'd have to go look, but I think it was like 20% pin, 20% pin. So they just put this on one now and then made the other one just have projectile damage builds pin. Okay. Supporting fire skill granted by the Unleash Hell notable passive skill no longer grants minions from this skill have 1% increased accuracy rating per 3 of your dex. Instead, minions from the skill now have 1% increased area of effect per 3 of your dex. Most builds are probably gonna have an increased like 100% area of effect. The death from above, I mean, it grants the minions, right? So if you have the, I think they changed them to siege ballistas now, the artillery that shoots the missiles. I mean, having 100% increased area of effect on that, or whatever you scale it to, would be absolutely massive. That'd be huge. The death from above command for supporting fire now deals approximately 3 times more damage at all gem levels. Death from above command for supporting fire. That wasn't the, no, barrage was the one that sucked. What was supporting fire? Okay, so Unleash Hell, yeah, gave us supporting fire, right? So it was the accuracy and the damage, and this absolutely sucked. So now supporting fire no longer grants minions from the skill of 1%. Okay. Have 1% minions from the skill. Well, okay, so we're still gonna have supporting fire, but they just get area of effect, and then it says the death from above, which, okay, that's what this is, the death from above. Deals approximately 3 times more damage at all gem levels. But I don't think that ever, well, I guess it's level 20 here. 3 times more damage. I feel like that's still not going to be a lot, because when you think about it, this thing barely nicked even like a white mob's health, no matter how strong you were. Like, this was absolutely shit. So 3 times more damage, I feel like it's probably still not going to be enough. I mean, the area of effect on it is going to be massive. We'll have to play with that. The whoever pays best notable now provides there is no limit on the number of banners you can place, and banners gain 5 glory per second instead of can place multiple banners. Okay, yeah, I mean, same thing, but they also, you'll passively gain glory now instead of having to rely on attacks, which is nice. That's a good change. Added a new strategic embankments notable passive skill, a new one, which requires cannon ready. This causes your totems to grant embarkment auras to players when placed, which grant a different effect depending on the variety of totem. This I like. So cannons ready is totems have more skill speed, but they only use skills when you fire an attack projectile. A lot of people don't like this. It's rough. Definitely sucks for mapping if you want your totems to attack without, you know, if you want to place your totems and have them go blast everything, and you know, you can have a second or two to regroup and, you know, start blasting from behind them. You can definitely do a build without this, but they kind of make it worthwhile. So if you use an Ancestral Warrior totem, you'll get 40% increased glory generation, which is massive if you want to just throw it on banners all the time. Artillery Ballista, which I think is now the Ripwire. I think Ripwire got changed to Artillery, and what was Artillery is now Siege. The Siege is now the one that fires the you know, the missiles, the fire missiles. So I think Artillery now is what was Ripwire. Grants 40% increased immobilization buildup, which it already does, unless they've changed it. I haven't looked yet. We'll see in a bit here. It already did like 650% pin buildup. So an extra 40% on top of that. I mean, you're looking at another 300% if it scales off of the total. Unless that's just 40% increase, which makes it 690%, which I don't know how that's going to scale. If you put on a Dark Effigy totem, 40% increased damage over time. Mortar Cannon, which is that new grenade one, grants 15% of damage gained as extra fire. Definitely a Siege Cascade build with Mortar Cannon would be absolutely silly. Siege Ballista grants 50% increased damage against immobilized enemies. That's massive. That's massive. Yeah, Siege Cascade with Siege Ballista is going to be silly. And then if you use a Shockwave Totem, 30% increased area of effect. So, you know, we'll see how it works out. But that's it for that. No changes to Witch Hunter. So I do want to point out 23 new clusters added to the Mercenary area of the passive tree, which is the second highest. The Witch Sorcerer's got 25, and that's 2 classes. So the Mercenary got the most new clusters. I'm really curious to see exactly what they added. I know they showed like 1 or 2, which basically for like gemling, if you have like a ton of blue supports, you're immune to like chill, stuff like that, immune to fire, immune to shock. Sources of increased area effect have been lowered by approximately 25%. Sources of reduced reservation of skills instead now grant increased reservation efficiency. Many existing clusters have also received updates. These changes may result in your existing passive. Okay, yeah. So not only are we getting 23 new clusters, we're getting existing clusters are getting updates. So we'll see. And they also said like they want you to stop focusing on like pathing around and like just really getting attributes, and then to go and actually grab shit that's worthwhile. A small attribute passive skill has been removed on all of the outward highways between class starting locations. All right, skill changes. Let's see. The base damage scaling of all player spell and secondary damage skills have been tweaked to scale better in the late game. Generally speaking, spells that do not have damage number changes called out below will have near identical base damage at low levels, roughly 5% more damage at gem level 20, and roughly 20% more damage at gem level 30. The mana cost growth of all skills have been rebalanced. They talked about this. Generally speaking, skills will have similar mana costs at low gem levels, potentially slightly higher mana costs at some intermediate gem levels, and lower mana costs, sometimes dramatically lower at gem levels higher than 20. Yeah, Mark was talking about that, like how he was just stacking mana on all of his gear and it just felt bad. And then when he would trigger like a meta skill, it would just all gone. This is, you know, since we've used banners. Banners no longer gain valor or have valor related stats, but instead generate glory when you attack enemies. They all require 200 glory to place. Unlike other glory based skills, banners can gain glory while the banner is placed. Also, so now, you know, instead of before you place it and then, you know, you'd use it and then you couldn't gain valor until it was, you know, gone. Now you can just start gaining again. So you could potentially, especially if you're doing like rituals, you can place a banner, get enough glory from the mobs, because it said they increased how long they last, and then just place it as soon as that one's done and just always have your banners down. And now they don't disappear when you walk out of the circle. So we could have banners down constantly now. Like banners are going to be a lot better. A lot better. Banners are going to be massive. Banners can gain glory while the banner is placed. All sources of banner valor gained have been replaced with banner glory generated. So I'm wondering if they're still going to scale the percentage of the attributes that are on the banners. We'll have to see. Banners now have a global limit of 1 allowed to be placed. There are ways in the passive tree and technician tree to increase this. Right. Okay. This is big. Curse skills and skills that apply elemental exposure now can't apply those debuffs to enemies that are significantly higher level than skills' own level requirement. Oh. Yeah. They changed, like if we would use whatever the curses were to like lower lightning resistance, lower fire resistance, cold resistance, it's all just 1 now. It's like it's an elemental curse that lowers all elemental res, so that's going to be massive. Movement speed penalty basically is, it's going to feel better if you're using tame beast, which tactician definitely does. 25% more damage at all gem levels. Because, yeah, I just used them for, like, the buffs. I didn't rely on them to do damage, but if they did more damage, that'd be nice. So this is a big change for totems. Totems are going to deal way more damage. Shockwave Total, Ancestral Warrior, Artillery Ballista, and Siege Ballista now use your equipped weapons. They no longer have their own flat damage, base crit chance, or base attack. So I'm assuming this is going to make totems insanely powerful. Like, way stronger. Especially if you have a good weapon. Because I think even with buffs, they only ever got to like 5,000 base damage on like Ripwire. So I'm curious to see how they'll scale now. Ancestral Warrior Totem now have no limit. Remember, that's an option for Tactician. Okay, here we go. Artillery Ballista has been renamed to Siege Ballista. Now has a duration of 8 seconds, previously 16. Kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Bolt's attack speed is now 25% of base, and bolts now deal 25 to 66% attack damage. So it's a little bit of a nerf there. Bolt explosion radius is now 1.4. Okay, so they lowered the area of effect. Explosion now deals 50 to 132% attack damage. Another nerf. Quality now provides 0.3 meters to bolt explosion radius. Previously totem base attack time. So we can get almost back to the, we'll be at 1.7. Losing the base attack time kind of sucks. So yeah, Siege Ballista, well, artillery, which is now Siege Ballista, has definitely been nerfed. But if you think back to the tactician tree, you can spec into where if you're using the Siege Ballista, it gives you what, 50% extra damage against immobilized enemies. So if you're spec'd into the pin, which if you're running Tactician, you pretty much always run that all damage pins, you're gonna be doing an extra 50% damage while using the siege ballistas. So while these totems did get a nerf, you're getting a buff on your damage by 50% on the Ascendancy. So not horrible. Right here, cast on freeze, cast on shock, cast on ignite have been combined into a single gem. Cast on elemental ailment. This gem requires 100 spirit, has a minimum level of 14, and combines the energy gain conditions of all 3 previous gems. Existing copy, yeah, blah blah blah. Okay. Cluster grenade. Here we go. We got one. Primary grenade attack damage is now 299 to 490%. Previously 199 to 327. So that's a big buff. Mini grenade attack damage is now up to 286 from 225. Another buff. Now fires exactly 18 mini grenades in a Nova. Previously 14. So we're getting 4 extra grenades plus the big buff to damage. And mini grenades are fired over a 17% increased radius. Okay. All right. Cluster grenade is a big buff on that. I never used a build with cluster grenade. We're going to have to do that now. Defiance banner, armored evasion, increased movement speed. Okay, so when we would get the percentage to like what the banners did, like here it says armored evasion was previously 6 to 9%, and then you could scale that. Now they just give you a flat 30%, and movement speed before was 5%, and it's scaled. You could scale it, so now you're just getting a flat 30%. So War Banner is going to be all the way at the bottom of this list because, you know, W. But we'll have to see how that's changed because we could scale that to like 40, 50, I think 54, 52, 54% is what we scaled the attack damage to. It was absolutely massive. So we're probably most likely going to take a hit on that. Dread Banner, I don't really care for that. Emergency Reload, this is an interesting change. I feel like Emergency Reload was always bugged. It never worked. So hopefully now it works, and this is going to make it probably mandatory. Now reloads all of your crossbow ammunition clips. Previously just your most recent, whatever you were using, it just reloaded. Now it reloads everything. They really want you to combo around and not use the same skill. You know what I mean? And so on top of reloading everything, it empowers each clip's ammunition to deal increased damage for its duration or until you expend all of your empowered bolts. So when this reloads our bolts, it also empowers everything. If you remember, if you used I'm thinking of Shards Scavenger. That was the one that I was thinking of that doesn't work. Emergency Reload is the one you would just press and then it would turn your bolt number yellow and then those would be buffed. Yeah, I was thinking of Shard Scavenger. That's the one that like never works properly. So this, yeah. So not only that's crazy. So it reloads everything and empowers all of those clips. That's crazy. Yeah. Now has number of each clip's empowered bolts is equal to the maximum ammunition. Hold on. Now has number of each clip's empowered bolts is equal to the maximum ammunition of the clip. Yeah. Okay. So like if we have shock burst rounds and it has like 27 rounds, obviously you only get 27. If now Galvanic is down to 1 bolt, so it's just going to empower the 1 bolt. I'm curious how this is going to work with that new lineage that gives you +3 bolts, but you got a dodge roll to refill it, because I think it said you only can refill it by dodge rolling, but is emergency reload gonna give us 4? Good question. Here we go. Fragmentation rounds. Explosion from frozen enemies now converts all physical damage to cold damage and will cause further explosions on any frozen enemy it hits, though this cannot propagate any further. I think they showed this. Explosion radius is now 2 meters, previously 1.8. Hits against frozen enemies now have 100% more damage against unique enemies. So if you freeze it and use fragmentation round, it has 100% more damage on a boss, which they showed, which makes these usable, because like nobody used these little shotgun blasts because they just didn't do enough damage. So now like, you combo, you freeze it, you switch to this, boom, 100% extra damage. That's massive. That is massive. And you know, it does explosions on frozen enemies, so it's like a mini Herald of Ice as well. Back to Galvanic Shards. I'm really sad about this, but it makes sense. It makes sense. So ammunition no longer has a 50% less reload speed. I didn't even know that was a thing. Now has only 1 bolt loaded per clip. Previously 5. You could get it to 7 with quality. Sad day, boys. Projectile attack damage is now 21 to 54, 14 to 31. So it is base damage buff while leveling, while the beam attack damage is 107 to 272%. Previously 71 to 156. So big buff, but you figure you're not spraying it like a machine gun, so it's probably still less damage because you're not spraying as fast. Now fires 8 fragments per shot. Previously 6. And then we get the extra 2 fragments on the quality, so 10 fragments. I don't know if these fork. I really don't. I don't know, because I never really played with the shotgun blast. I don't know if they fork. I think acceleration would probably be good with those, so they go further. We'll have to mess around with it. The mana cost is also a little lower, which is big. And we get more fragments per shot instead of bolts loaded. We'll have to see, because Galvanic Shards was OP. Gas Grenade no longer has special behavior, causing it to detonate as soon as it stops bouncing. Instead, it strictly obeys its detonation time like other grenades. Okay. Glacial Bolt. Here we go. Ice Crystals now have 50% more area of effect if shattered. Ice Crystals now do 80% less damage in the first 0.5 seconds of their duration. Hailstorm Rounds. Curious to see what they've changed on this. Bolts now fall in an expanding circle rather than overlapping with each other. Okay. So instead of just like raining down, it's going to expand. I wonder how that's going to work. Now has an impact radius of 1 meter, previously 1.2, and a rain radius of 4 meters, previously 2.5. Okay, so it covers more area now. 1 bolt now falls every 0.1 seconds, previously 0.3. So you're going to get 10 bolts per second. All right. Okay. So now, like, you know, if we're weaving different elements, we can for sure blast hailstorm rounds now, and it'll be viable. And it lands fast as shit. 10 per second, and it goes in a 4-meter radius. That's your base presence area of effect. That's pretty massive. All right. And there is no longer a minimum distance the bolts can land from the firing location. Interesting. Okay. Now deals 146 to 254% of attack damage at gem levels 120. Previously 109 to 204. Okay, 50% buff. Now it's 130 to 157% more freeze buildup. Okay. Ammunition now has 100% more reload speed. Previously 50% less. Hailstorm Rounds is on the menu, boys. I was hoping they would fix it so it was usable, and now it seems like it's usable. Yeah, I mean, especially if you really pump freeze buildup, you can go in, pop that on the boss, and easily use that to freeze a boss, and then use like incendiary shot or whatever it was, fragmentation round to do that 100% extra damage, and just pop, 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 just go ham. Hell yeah. Herald of Thunder. What did it do? Bolt impact radius is now 1 meter, down from 1.4. That's fine, because so many bolts come down. Like, that's okay. High velocity rounds. This is the one with the armor break where they changed, right? They showed. No longer consumes fully broken armor. Instead, hitting a fully armor broken enemy will apply a debuff to that enemy, which causes your attack hits against that enemy to deal additional physical damage equal to 5% of the physical damage dealt by high velocity rounds that applied the debuff. So basically, if we use high velocity rounds, we hit a fully broken armor enemy, they get that debuff. We can then switch, if they're shocked, to shock burst rounds and machine gun them down, and every bolt, because, you know, it fires like a machine gun. Maybe, I don't know, we haven't seen the changes yet. Maybe it seems slower in the reveal. Every bolt from shock burst would have an additional 5% damage of high velocity rounds. that might be something we have to weave into the build. They definitely want you to combo shit. They don't want you to use one skill. So we're really going to have to be creative here and really figure some shit out. I mean, I kind of like it. I don't know. Sometimes one button builds just get boring, but they're also fun. So we'll see how this is going to work, but that could be big damage. Is Ice Shards what I'm thinking of? Yeah, this is the one that fires at the ground. That's absolutely dog shit that nobody uses. Shards now deal 29 to 82% attack damage. Oh, that's a big buff. That's more than double. Arm after 1.5 seconds and now deal up to 300% more damage after arming. Yeah. They now deal 80% less damage in the first 0.5 seconds of their duration. They no longer deal 700% more damage after 0.5 seconds. Projectile now deals 11 to 29% of attack damage at gem level 20. Okay. So a little lower there. Now has an arming time before which it will not explode. Even if shot directly under an enemy. Okay. So they have to arm. After 1.5 seconds of arming, they deal 300% more damage. Quality now provides shards chills enemies as though dealing 0 to 100% more damage. Okay. Instead of shards that have existed for at least 0.5 seconds deal. Okay. I'm still not a fan of how it just shoots at the ground. But if they're changing it, we could use that to chill and freeze an enemy. If you don't want to use hailstorm rounds, you could just go just fire it at the ground, and just once they arm, they'll deal decent damage and probably freeze. All right, incendiary shot. God, they've literally changed everything. This is crazy. Now has ignites you inflict with the skill are 200% faster, and also now has 30% increased ignite duration for each pellet that hits a target. Massive. Now inflicts 300% more flammability, previously 100%. Flammability is now what you have to gain in order to ignite an enemy. Quality now provides 0 to 15% increased ignite duration for each fragment that hits a target, instead of the 0 to 20% increased ignite magnitude. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if they did, because like the shock and the freeze duration is 8 seconds now. I don't know if they made ignite last 8 seconds, but I mean, just with one pellet with quality, you're just 45% increased duration, which is massive, and 200% faster, so it's going to burn them faster. Ooh. There we go. Overwhelming Presence and Withering Presence are now described as aura skills and have the aura tag. Okay, so Overwhelming Presence still the same. Permafrost Bolts, here we go. Now has 200 to 504% more freeze buildup. Previously 80% at all gem levels, and they upped it to 504% freeze buildup. Holy shit. God damn. Now has 17 to 49% attack damage at gem levels 1 to 20. So we lost some attack damage, but the freeze buildup is insane. Holy shit, that's... I feel like lightning took a back seat, and now cold. Cold is the new lightning. Jesus Christ, man. 504% more freeze buildup. And then you scale the gem levels past 20 and it'll keep scaling. Jesus. Plasma Blast. I'm still mad that Scatter Shot doesn't work like it used to. Now has 50% more magnitude of shock inflicted. Okay. On top of what it did. Okay. Well, that's good. No longer has 30% more chance to shock. That's fine. Because, I mean, we never were using that to shock anyway, right? And I'd rather have more magnitude of shock. But, well... yeah. Projectile now converts 80% of physical damage to lightning damage, previously 70%. I remember in the reveal, one of them said something about Plasma Blast now deals more damage to shocked enemies, but I don't see that change here. I remember them saying that the Plasma Blast now deals more damage against shocked enemies. So if you shock them and then hit them with this, it's going to do more damage. And I don't know if they just said that because this now does more magnitude of shock. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Rapid shot. This is a big ass paragraph. Okay. This is the one that gained heat, right? No longer has a delay before firing bolts or 50% less reload speed. It now has 100 maximum ammunition at all gem levels. Previously it was 50 to 87. Okay, so just straight out the gate, tons of ammo all the time. And 30 to 45 maximum heat. Previously 17 to 24. Oh shit. That's big. It now deals 37 to 94% of attack damage instead of 21 to 47. More than double. Quality now grants up to 15 maximum heat, previously 5. So you can get 60 maximum heat on this. That's big. Holy shit. Heat no longer grants rapid shot damage gained as fire. Okay. Instead, reaching maximum heat prevents you from using the skill for 10 seconds. It now generates heat. Hold on. Heat no longer grants rapid shot damage gained as fire, which was good for grenades. Instead, reaching maximum heat prevents you from using the skill for 10 seconds. Okay, there's more. There's more. Let's see. It now generates heat once per attack instead of once every 0.25 seconds. Okay, I like that. So you have to, if you have up to the 60 maximum heat, you have to basically unload 60 out of 100 of your clip. Let's see. Heat now begins, right, instead of the seconds. Heat now begins decaying after 4 seconds without gaining heat at a rate of 10 heat per second. Heat no longer grants grenade skills damage gained as fire. Instead, explosive grenade and cluster grenade consume 15 heat to gain 50% of damage as fire damage, while incendiary shot consumes 30 heat to gain 50% more ignite magnitude. Ooh. Okay, so instead of just giving you extra damage as fire than grenades, you now get 50% of damage as fire damage on grenades. And incendiary shot does 50% more ignite magnitude. And was it incendiary shot was, yeah, where ignites with that skill is 200% faster, and you can have the longer duration. And okay, rapid shot. And then so they really want you to use like one of these, like the ones with the big ammo that shoot faster, like armor piercing rounds, rapid shot. I'm sure shock burst is gonna have something. We're almost there, but they want to use that and then go into like the shotgun to like finish them off, instead of before we were kind of using the shotgun and then switching to the machine gun. So they kind of reversed it on us. Ripwire ballista. See, now ripwire is called artillery. It is what it is, right? It now fires a hail of bolts into the air. Okay, so it used to just shoot 3 straight out. Now it fires them into the air, landing in an area and hitting all enemies within that area a number of times equal to its projectile count. I kind of like that. So instead of just shooting the 3 blasts and just piercing enemies, it now fires up and lands in an area, hitting all enemies within that area a number of times equal to its projectile count. So it always just did 3 projectiles. So if it lands in an area, it'll hit each enemy 3 times now. That's a lot more damage. Oh, bolts now fire 4 projectiles, previously 5. Was it 5? Maybe it was 5. Okay, well, regardless, 4 projectiles, but that hits the enemies 4 times. That's more damage. And deals 24 to 40% attack damage. Ooh, previously 98 to 153. But it's hitting 4 times, so it's still a little bit better. It's still like 7% more. Bolt's attack speed is now 25% of base, previously 100% of base. Okay. Is that better or worse? I don't know. The ballista now has a duration of 12 seconds, previously 16. Quality now grants an additional 200% more pin damage. Previously only went to 50%. That's massive. I wonder if the base pin is still 600%. So basically that'll be 800% pin build up instead of the 650. But all of our projectile damage pins, but for bosses, getting that first pin on the boss is easy. Second pin, still pretty easy. The third and fourth pin, and for longer boss fights, takes a lot of pin build up. So having that extra 150% and having each of those 4 projectiles hitting all enemies with that area number of times equal to projectile count. So if we have 4 or 5 of these totems, say we have 4 of these totems, that's 16 projectiles. So each enemy is going to get hit 16 times for 800% pin. Holy fucking shit, dude. That's going to be so strong. And I believe this one gives an extra 40% immobilization build up. Now, I don't know if that's going to go 40% of 800% or just 40%. I don't know. I don't know how that math is going to math. But Ripwire Ballista, if you've seen my channel, you see my builds. You know that shit was strong. But that sounds crazy for pinning. Absolutely crazy. Damn. Siege Cascade, what did they change to this? Impact now deals 94 to 145% of attack damage. Previously up to 91%. So that's a 54% increase. Siege Cascade was already stupid strong. It's even stronger now? Oh my god. While the explosion now deals 352 to 543% of attack damage. Previously 258 to 398. You gained 145% attack damage on the explosion. And 54% on the impact. Holy shit. Oh, here we go. No longer deals 200% more damage against immobilized enemies. There it is. That's what made it strong. That's what made it strong. I mean, still, it's I don't know. It's probably still strong. No longer has a hidden 100% less stun buildup against enemies. Okay. Converts 80% physical damage to fire damage, or has the payoff. Hold on. No longer has a hidden 100% less stun buildup. It no longer converts 80% of physical damage to fire damage, or has the payoff and fire gem tags. So wait, what? So it just does straight fire damage? It doesn't convert physical to fire anymore? All of the crossbow skills convert physical to fire. Or maybe that just says no longer has the stun build up and now converts 80% of physical damage to fire. No, it says or has the payoff and fire gem tags. Well, what the fuck? Payload radius is now 0.4 meters, previously 0.5, while the bolt explosion radius is now 0.8 meters, previously 1. So we lose area of effect on everything here. The delay between the payload and bolt explosion is now 0.6 seconds, previously 0.3. I wonder... Yeah, well, since they removed the 200% more damage gets immobilized, it's not a payoff skill anymore. And they removed the fire gem tags? So is it just all physical damage then? It creates explosions. It should be fire damage. I don't know. We'll have to see how that works. That seems like Siege Cascade got a little bit of a nerf, huh? Oh, shock burst rounds. Little baby. Pulse explosion attack damage has been lowered by approximately 15%. Come on, man. Like, it was strong, but I don't think they should have nerfed my boy like that. Shock burst rounds. Come on, man. It's just on the pulse explosion, but that was the big damage. Come on, man. Why they gotta nerf our machine gun? Okay, so Stormblast bolts I never used. You basically shoot them into the ground and use a detonator skill to activate them. I think they were pretty dookie. Where is it? Stormblast bolt. Explosion now deals 222 to 470% attack damage. So that got a buff, almost, what, 82% buff. Charge bolt duration is now 10 seconds, previously 8. Okay, Trinity now applies to all elemental damage instead of elemental attack damage. Quality now grants skill speed instead of attack speed. There's now a dexterity intelligence skill instead of pure dexterity. Okay. I just want to read Volcanic Fissure here because we did try to make Volcanic Fissure good. And if you saw the reveal, Volcanic Fissure is absolutely fucking insane now. Now creates 2 branches that emerge from either side of the main fissure. So we had to use Scatter Shot to make it do the 3 fissures. So now it just does it on its own. We're not going to get that 35% damage penalty. The length of the fissure is now affected by area modifiers. Sick. Now has a minimum gem level of 7, previously 9. Now has 80% of physical converted to fire damage, previously 60. And now deals up to 145% attack damage, previously 163. So it's a little less. Aftershocks cannot trigger more than once every 0.2 seconds, which is fine. Quality now provides 20% chance to cause an aftershock. Okay. Instead of 4 seconds to fissure duration. Allied slams now trigger volcanic fissures. I think that the totem, because remember I wanted to do the totems to do volcanic fissure and they weren't working, so maybe that's fixed now. Retriggers are now treated as aftershocks and will scale with aftershock specific effects. Hell yeah. All right, let's look at Voltaic Grenade here. All right, boys, I know it's a long video. There's a lot to go. This is just for Mercenary. This is crazy. Okay, Voltaic Grenade. Maybe it's usable now. Now applies the electrocution debuff to enemies on hit for 6 seconds. That's already massive. That's what, 20% more damage? And now has up to 340% more electrocution buildup from hits. Previously, 50% at all gem levels. Fuck yeah, dude. This is fucking massive. Hell yeah. Now has up to 327% attack damage. Previously 714. Oh no. Okay, so that got cut in half. More than half. But we get the electrocution debuff, which is great. Honestly, that's massive. And the electrocution buildup is big. Okay. All right. Possibly usable now. War Banner, here we go. I'm really curious to see what this is going to do. Aura now grants 25% more attack damage, previously 5 to 6%, but we were able to scale that to like 52, 54%. So War Banner is not going to scale us because we got our base crossbow damage is like 240% or 240,000 on the base damage because of War Banner. So now it's not going to scale as high. 50% increased accuracy rating. And also now grants 25% increased attack. Okay, so we'll lose attack damage. And now with Falcon Dive, we scaled the accuracy to give us more skill speed on shock burst rounds with this. But now on top of getting 50% increased accuracy to get that extra skill speed, we now get a 25% attack speed on top of that. It might wind up being the same because accuracy was at 30% before and it's scaled. So this is definitely less with the scaling. Now has a duration of up to 9.8 seconds, which was before it's 6.9, which is big because then we can get the gem that gives it half. So it'll be like 13 seconds now. And Banner is no longer removed when you leave the aura. Quality now provides 10% increased reservation efficiency, previously 2% more aura magnitudes. So I'm assuming the aura magnitudes are gone since it got rid of Valor. That allowed us to scale it pretty high. So 10% increased reservation efficiency. Oh, Spirit. I'm like, so instead of having the 200 glory, we could get 180 glory and pop it down. But I think this means for like the Spirit. So I think it costs 30. So it'll cost 27 now. 3 spirit, I guess. Okay, so that's all the skills. Literally everything changed, I'm pretty sure. Maybe minus a few, but that's a lot. Let me go through these uniques, see if there's anything I can spot. There it is, Tangle Tongue. Now 5 to 8% critical hit chance instead of the 10 to 20%. The following uniques can no longer drop and will be reintroduced at a later date. The Deepest Tower, rip. Rip, boys, they got rid of the Deepest Tower. Damn, they were using it in the reveal trailer. They had Deepest Tower on. I mean, I'm not mad about it because Deepest Tower was just a way to get really, really high damage scaling. What, we got like 480% against low life enemies. So it'll be reintroduced at a later date. So I'm assuming when they reintroduce Deepest Tower, they'll probably rework the passive skill tree. I wonder if they removed it then. No, probably not. It'll probably still be there, the low life damage. But wow. Wow. There it is. No more Deepest Tower builds for now, boys. Okay, so 3% more max life on the soul core of Jaquani instead of 2% now. That's pretty good. So a lot of these soul cores are getting buffs. Iron runes now grant up to 18% increased physical damage. Oh, previously it was 25%. Okay, so runes got a little bit of a slap. So the Ox Talisman, we increased our presence area of effect. Now it grants 10% increased block chance on shields. Completely changed that one. Added new suffix modifiers that can roll on dexterity armors from level 33 that grant a percentage of your evasion rating as deflection rating. That's going to be good. The life of most Act 3 bosses have been reduced by approximately 15%. Jeez. Okay, Rogue Exiles now get additional life scaling from 65 onward, resulting in roughly 30 to 70% increased life from tier 1 waystones to tier 16, which is fine because like they go down too easily. Okay, non-unique items on Rogue Exiles are now affected by increased rarity of items found in area. Improve management of cache files on consoles to avoid running out of temporary storage space. This will fit issues with minimap being reset on leaving and returning and online item filters found to load. Yeah, they did say there was a lot of improvements to just overall higher FPS too, is what they said. So microtransit enabled the following existing armor microtransactions. All of those enabled existing footprints, enabled Celestial Emperor, Sandfish Pet, enabled variants of all of those. Lots of bug fixes here. Fixed a bug where cluster grenades, mini grenades could not generate energy for meta gems. Fixed a bug where artillery and ripwire ballista couldn't target the stone pillars in the Chimera. Okay, well that makes sense. Now I think back to it. Fixed a bug where shard scavengers effect sometimes wouldn't play. Yeah, this is the one that I feel like wouldn't work half the time. Watch and consuming free shock ignite or fully broken armor on an enemy related to your crossbow. Restores 1 cooldown used for your grenades and grants a buff causing crossbow attacks to not consume bolts for a duration. It can only occur once every few seconds. And it says where shard scavenger effects sometimes wouldn't play. So they just wouldn't. They wouldn't do anything, which was my issue with it. So now that seems like that'll be viable. All right. I think that's all for the mercenary changes. Quite a lot. Let me know what you're excited to try out of all those changes. Absolutely massive. If you didn't see the reveal or you want to see my reaction to it, video is up on the channel right now. Go check it out. Come hang out, sub. We're going to be hitting it hard, playing, having a good time. I'm excited. I'm excited for all the reworks, Act 4, interludes, this new endgame stuff. It all looks really good. Anyway, you know the drill. Subscribe, come back. See you on the next one.